Hello and welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. New York is under fire. We're besieged by attention on all fronts. First, you have the Met Gala, which took place last night at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It is, as I wrote in the Daily Mail, which you can see right now, an attention rodeo. But that's not all. We also have another kind of attention whore, one who has gotten paid for being a TV hooker, Stormy Daniels. She's been testifying against former President Trump in a lower Manhattan courtroom. And the other attention whores, the pro-Hamas, anti-Israel protesters who are doing whatever they can to disrupt any proceedings to try and get a little bit of oxygen with their changing demands that do not correlate to reality. First, let's discuss the Met Gala, or is it Gala? It was super. Thanks for asking. I did enjoy watching the coverage. I did cover it for the Daily Mail, and there was coverage, live TV coverage on E. Also, Vogue.com had a lot of interviews, and the Kardashians. Did they disappoint? We're talking about them. Kim Kardashian, her body looks grotesque. And she's a beautiful woman. She always has been. She has natural assets that were moderately augmented throughout her personal history. But now it's gotten to the point where her waist is so small, it doesn't seem like there's room for her guts. And so I wrote that she was in this corset and, a beautiful mirrored silver, it looked like pieces of glass sewn to her gown. And it was a really cool looking fabric, but her body is so contorted and she has so much goo in her hips and her ass. And that's not fat. That's been put in there and chopped and channeled a little later in the process. That has certainly been augmented, but her waist is so small, maybe she did in fact have some ribs removed. I don't know. I'm no longer a plastic surgeon, but I do know that when they took that corset off of her, the fart she released did blow manhole covers off of every manhole and woman hole on Fifth Avenue. That poor dear. Can you imagine that fart cloud? That must have been absolutely horrific. Her mom showed up in a big white duvet cover with her weird boyfriend. That Kris Jenner, she really attracts some doozies. And Kylie had the super pointy bra dress with the big diaper train. And I wonder if the Secret Service stopped and frisked her because they were worried that her pointy cone bra was hiding some machine gun jubblies. Kendall looked very cool and elegant. She sort of had like Grecian biker chic going. So that was as many Kardashians as we saw. I love Gigi Hadid. She had a very cool dress that looked like it was a tuxedo made from fondant with a bunch of flowers all over it, which, obviously florals for spring. Groundbreaking. Everyone was making fun of that line from The Devil Wears Prada. Anna Wintour has been making fun of Lauren Sanchez through surrogates, saying that she's trashy and gross and has no style. So Anna Wintour personally helped design her look and helped her come up with a gown for the Met Ball. And it was fine. It was kind of ordinary. And compared to some of the other things that we saw, which some of them were poignant and romantic, like Jennifer Lopez looked absolutely stunning and ethereal. She adhered to the theme of, being the dress code was in the garden after a 1962 short story and, Sleeping Beauties awakened.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
Jennifer Lopez, I thought, had the dress of the night. She was absolutely stunningly beautiful. Lauren Sanchez, it was just kind of boring. It was kind of like the Mirrorball rose theme, bunch of crap, sewed to her dress. She tried to let the dogs out and parole her boobies in titty jail, and it didn't necessarily work. It wasn't like groundbreaking. And you would think with the kind of money that she has stumbled into, you could buy something a little bit more impressive. That was an Oscar de la Renta gown. Doja Cat, I think there's something wrong with her. I think that she is unwell. She has to show us her berries and bush every time she enters the public sphere. She did it at the Grammy Awards, and it's like, oh, we get it. You are opposed to waxing. And I now am intimately familiar with the shade of your areolas, which I did not request that information, but thank you for overselling it. Same thing with Rita Ora. She and Doja Cat look like they both came out of the shower, and in not the most attractive way. I did like Cardi B's dress because it took so many man fluffers to spread her train out in the various camera marks where she had to hit so she could be photographed from every single angle. I said that her headpiece looked like Marge Simpson and Amy Winehouse had a naughty baby that had too much money to spend at the manicurist because, Cardi B's holding up her fingers like this, like, look at my nails. Like, I know, we get it. We see the nails. We got it. You're big. No one was as big as Lizzo, who looked awful. I was watching the proceedings with my niece and my brother, and my brother said she looks like a chewed up piece of rawhide that a dog buried somewhere. And she really did. She looked awful. She looked like a bottle of Gucci floral perfume had melted and become misshapen in the sun and almost exploded. It was such a bad look. And it was very funny because the commentators on E were trying so hard to be complimentary to everyone. And when Lizzo came down the green carpet, they're like, she's something. And they're really trying, and they couldn't do it. There was no convincing way to give her a compliment because she looked horrible. And I understand it's about taking risks, but can you take a risk in front of a mirror and at least be somewhat self-aware and honest about how you look? I mean, am I the only one who takes a solid look at myself and goes, amazing, almost every time? I leave the house in some things I shouldn't. But that is neither here nor there. You know who is here? Stormy Daniels. And she is testifying against the former president that she was somehow surprised after she smacked him on the ass with a rolled up magazine that he invited her up to his hotel suite. And that when she got there, he wanted sex from a porn star. That's like going to the fire department and being surprised that they're hosing down your flames. It's kind of their job. It's kind of what they're good at. But she said that after their lovemaking and during, she couldn't hear anything and she couldn't see anything and she kind of blacked out. It's like, lady, you do this for a living. Are you not good at your job? When someone has an area of expertise, you assume that they know their way around the boudoir a little bit. I said on Outnumbered, it's like a surgeon who claims that the sight of blood makes him barf. That's going to be problematic and also not entirely believable. So we'll see what the judge allows in this case. I did think it was very funny because the judge in this case, when she was going into graphic detail about their sexual encounter, of which she was told not to go into graphic detail, the judge actually said, "Can you slow down and speak a little more clearly?" It's like, you are a pervert. Hands where we can see them. Get them off your meat gavel, you big weirdo. And of course, the anti-Israel protesters tried valiantly to get into the Met Gala. They managed to, a few of them actually managed to get into the lobby of the Hinckley Hilton in Washington, D.C. for the White House Correspondents' Dinner. They were quickly tackled by the Secret Service. They were not letting these people near those fancy pants celebritantes and billionaires. There was no way they were getting through. So they kind of diverted them into Central Park and then penned them in like very sad, very loud veal where they could go and vandalize a World War I statue. Oh, such heroes, every one of them. And in case there's any mystery left, whoever is on these campuses, whether it's Portland State University or the Rhode Island School of Design, they're not students. They're not undergrads. They're stinky professional protesters who desperately need a hobby and a good old-fashioned humping. Speaking of which, I'm screwed, blue, tattooed, and out of time. This has been Kennedy Saves the World. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.